Yes, guys, it is damp and cool. Damp and cool here today. All right, guys, I'm bringing you in here today in the small engine shops to bring you along for the ride. I'm working on this power built overhead valve 8.5 horse Briggs Craftsman snowblower. Now a family member did drop this off, and guys, I apologize, it's a little chaotic stuff I've got going on here. It's been a little crazy here lately, but anyhow, we're gonna go over this snowblower for family, and he dropped it off and pretty much wants it just going over and ready for the winter. So I'm gonna do him a favor and go a little bit further what I would traditionally do if someone were to drop it off and just say, hey, they want it running or tune up. We're probably going to jump in here. One, I can tell you, you can see it's already hooked up to a power source. It is not running. So I can tell you that right off the back. So we're going to try to get it running. Might have to pull the carb, clean it, maybe even order up a rebuild kit for the carb. We'll see. We'll have to get inside the carb and see how it looks. Another thing I want to do for him is probably adjust these valves. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not, because this is probably a very low hour machine, so it's probably not necessary, but we might see how it goes and adjust the valves as well. But I'm kind of going to just check over everything almost like I would anybody else's and bring you guys along. So let's get into it. So there she is, guys. It's rather low hour machine from what I can tell. You can see I got this hardware already loosened up here. I did get into it a little bit, but I thought, well, let's make a video and bring them along. But for sure, this thing does not have many hours. Checking the oil and stuff, and you can tell that that was recently done. The oil looks really, really well. But first thing we're going to do is try to fire it up a couple times, guys. So this model happens to have a electric start on it, which is nice. We have the choke on, and we're definitely on the switch here. It's not even trying. We got a full tank of gas. Let's taste it. Just kidding. It smells really bad. Nice and toasty in here this morning, guys. We got the wood stove back here. It's been blaring all morning, and it is damp and cold outside, that's for sure. So we got her nice and toasty in here. So we're not firing. So we're going to remove these bolts here, guys, and we're going to check for spark here. Does sound like it has decent compression. Maybe we'll throw the compression gauge on it for you guys and see what kind of compression this thing's got. I do not have a service manual for this thing, so I'm kind of going with the flow here from training and experience, guys. I'm not sure how well you guys can see up there. Get this coil off here and pull this spark plug. Doesn't look like a Champion. No, I don't think that's NGK, guys. So they must have cross-referenced an NGK, and hey, thumbs up. Champion are not bad plugs for these, you know, lawn and garden small engines. That's actually, I have a stock of Champion spark plugs, but I do favor NGK. It's got a BK R5ES and very low hours on this spark plug, guys. Very low hours. This thing was barely even ran on this plug. So a sign that already somebody did the oil not long ago and put a spark plug in it, and it is dry. So we're not getting any fuel. So I think the problem right off the back is we're not getting fuel. So that's why we're not getting fire. I want to say the spark is probably good. We'll see if I can't shock myself on camera, guys. So again, the ignition switch is on. And we're gonna hit this starter here and see if we don't get some fire. If you guys can see that. Oh yeah, really good spark. I don't know if you guys could see that or not. One of these days I'll get a better camera, guys. Promise. All right, so there's the carb. Everything looks really clean. This is probably a very low hour machine. Which probably got something silly going on. We might have to pump this gas out of here. It did smell all right. I'm gonna contact my cousin and see how fresh this gas is. We might end up just pumping all the fuel out, putting fresh in it. I usually like to do that. So these primer balls are not like the chainsaw primer balls, guys, so don't panic. It sounds like you're just pumping air. Did a wire come off the switch here. So I'm gonna put you all down and we're gonna go to the next trick of the trade I do. Shoot some go-go juice into the intake side of this carb and see if we pop off. What I'm gonna do real quick, guys, is get a quick compression test for you guys. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on. And I'm not sure if this has the decompression mechanism. Like I say, I'm going off of just experience. And I did find a manual, which luckily gave me my valve lash adjustments. So that's good. We already know, you know, how to do all that stuff. So that's good, I got that. So I don't know if this is has a decompression mechanism. It should be well up over 100 without it. And if it does have a decompression mechanism, if I remember correctly, it should be around 60 to 80 PSI. So we're gonna find out here in a second. All right, here we go, guys. See what we get here. Oh, wow. Killer compression. Sweet. Kind of upside down for you guys, but we got 132-ish right there. Let's hit it again. Oh yeah, that's, man, this is a healthy engine right here. So I mean, I'm gonna say the valve clearances are probably pretty good too. I mean, if the valves are getting tight, you know, with the engine probably getting into the break-in, the valve will drop down and down in, and it will tighten up your clearances. And I really don't think it's necessary, but who knows? We might end up doing it just to show you guys. But very, very good compression, guys. Look at that. Awesome. All right, so really healthy engine. I'm going to remove this compression tester and we'll be right back. And if I think about it right now, I'll drop the spec sheet to this engine, CC, displacement, stroke, valve lash, all that right now. All right, guys, here's my handy dandy go-go juice. And as you can see back there, usually buy a case at a time. I have 1 can left. Now we already got it on order, guys. So we're gonna give it a little shot here. I think I should do it. And I gotta get my spark plug back in and we'll see if this thing fires. I'm just give it a little light spray in there. Oh, we're getting low here. Yeah, that should be enough. All right, I got everything buttoned back up there. See what this thing does. See if it pops off. All right, guys, see that? Boom. Popped off right off the back. I didn't use much of that spray. If you're doing it on a 2-stroke, you want to use 2-stroke fuel. I have used that stuff on 2-strokes, but only for like 1 little pop off. That will not hurt the engine. However, you should use 2-stroke fuel if you're doing it to a 2-stroke engine, just to make sure. But you will definitely wash out a cylinder or wipe out a cylinder if you're trying to get a 2-stroke going on that stuff non-stop. It's not going to be good news. All right, guys, so we had spark, we had compression. So first 2 things you want to dive into, and then we said, well, let's spark, compression, and then obviously fuel. Right off the back, 1, we pulled the spark plug out. It was a dry spark plug. Number 2, it's not firing. So we sprayed it with a little hot shot, pop right off. So that's what the issue is. It's just simply not getting fuel. The carburetor could be plugged up. We could have a fuel delivery issue. This fuel is filled to the top. It doesn't smell bad unless until I drain the fuel and actually physically look at it. So, until I were to extract or pump the fuel out, I wouldn't know if it was really fresh. My nose isn't the greatest, but obviously fuel's pretty potent. And that smells pretty decent to me, but I'm going to contact him and see how old this fuel is. Another trick of the trade I do is I have like an old gas tank I use all the time for small engines, and I can just throw a little gas on a gas line and kind of bypass the fuel tank just to try it out too. But I have a feeling we're going to have to dive into the carburetor. All right, guys, so we got this little shroud right here we're going to pop off to access the carburetor. I already started loosening these bolts up real quick. I'm going to go ahead and get this off, and then we'll be right back in here. All right, guys, we're going to get in here and simply remove this hose, the primer inlet on the carb. And you can tell this has never been off before. I could tell when I removed the spark plug. You can usually tell the first time you're taking a spark plug out too, because they're just really tight. And just stick him a brand new line on there. I might even be able to trim that down. Appears to be in pretty decent shape. All right, we're gonna get in here and remove these 2 bolts to the carburetor. All right, guys, so I'm gonna remove these 2 bolts here and get that screen and everything out of my way, and I think it'll make it a little easier getting in here to remove these bolts to remove the carburetor here. So we're gonna do that here real quick. All right, guys. So now I'm going to obviously take that off, and I'm using my longer Torex bit. Thankfully that they do that, because sometimes on some of these lawn garden setups it's weird how they have those bolts, and other stuff too. It's weird how they have these bolts so tight to get to sometimes. Makes you question what they were thinking when they designed the stuff. It's a little sneaky still to get into. You definitely want to be careful with an impact, guys. You can have a bad day real quick if you get out of hand, especially with torquing stuff down. You wouldn't want to do that to begin with. Okay. He's coming on out of there, guys. So we'll have our linkage up top here, the throttle linkage to get to. Not quite. She should be about ready to come off here, other than the fuel line. So I don't have a gasket kit, rebuild kit, or anything for this. So I'm just trying to be extra careful so we can reuse it. Interesting. Got like a little intake block there. You guys, you're gonna hear my wood stove in the background. It's taking off. Now we're gonna remove our handy dandy fuel line. And we can also, guys, check to make sure we're getting adequate fuel. All right, they make pretty decent clamps for doing this. I always like to use a good old set of vice grips. Just don't go crazy on how tight you make it, guys, or you will be botching up the fuel line. But I use these all the time. That should be enough to cut it off. I want to say we're getting fuel and it's just a carb. Excuse me. I want to say we're getting fuel and it's just a carby issue. good old carby problems. You know how this ethanol gas is. And guys, don't fight trying to take this throttle linkage off until you get the carb unbolted, or you're just gonna bend up your linkage and do ridiculous, stupid stuff to the linkage. Yeah. Try to get this to twist, and then get it to come out of there. Come on now. Can't brag about these pliers most of the time. Fighting me today. All right. Obviously, we could see the gasoline fly out of there, so I don't think fuel's an issue. I don't know. That might not be so fresh on the gas, guys. I just got another whiff of it. Maybe that's because it's the water on the bottom of the tank or something. So this can be tricky a lot of times. I'm fighting the fuel line here, and every time I move this fuel line, it's gonna kick the camera leg, and you guys aren't gonna be able to see because you're gonna go flying. All right, let's see if we can get you in there now, guys. Let's get this choke out of the way. And yep, you just kind of want to work it around. This has like a little bit more of a stubborn hook to the end of that throttle linkage there. All right, come on, baby. There she goes. Don't fight it too much, guys. Just kind of work it around and she'll come off there. And I'm already starting to see signs of this carburetor being gummed up. So I think it's going to be no surprise to pop this bowl down, or pop this bowl off this carburetor, and see that we have some gummed up carnage going on inside here, guys. That's my guess. All right, I'm just going to confirm that there's no clog on the tank. Should be a screen probably up in there. And nope. Should have put a cup under it. Kind of acted like a moron there, but that was just a quick test just to make sure we were getting adequate fuel. We're going to move over here to the carb bench and start tearing this carb apart. All right, so let me talk a little bit about these Briggs & Stratton carbs. A lot of your older carbs too, like your Hondas and stuff, have a little bit different style. Low speed jet / circuit to access. And a lot of that's pulling this Welch plug right here. That one right there, to make sure you get this thing cleaned out. I'm gonna go see if I got any in the other shop. I don't like removing them. Now you can spray in the circuits there and hope for the best. A lot of times it works, but sometimes you do all this work and then it's still clogged up. Well, you need to get some Welch plugs, remove the Welch plug, and put a new one in it. And that's one way to know that you're going to clear that low speed circuit out. All right, so I'll remove this float bowl real quick here. And if you were smart on a roll, you would have done this on the lawnmower itself, but we got her. It was a little tight. What do you think it's going to look like in here, guys? I think we got a gummed up carburetor. I can tell looking at this. Look at that bolt. Yeah, look at the threads on that thing. Yummy. I'd like to take the back of my screwdriver, if you're a newbie jumping in here, and just tap around the side of the bowl. I like to be easy because, again, I don't have a rebuild kit for this. Obviously, we can get one ordered up. I don't stock too much of rebuild kits and stuff for these. I just work on too much stuff across the board to do that. All right. As you can see, this gasket is like partially sticking and partially, yeah, look at that. So look at this, guys. Look at all this stuff. It is just clogged. I bet that main jet's pretty clogged. Oh, look at the float. The float's not even moving, guys. Look at this. It should not be doing that. I mean, so this is almost at the point where you would want to get a little rebuild kit for this thing. But I'm going to try to do it for you guys, showing, you know, that you don't have to. And there's a lot of times where I can go without it, but there's also a lot of times where you have to rebuild it. And this is damn near in the shape to where you would want to rebuild this thing, guys. But I'm going to get my carb cleaner out, brake cleaner, whatever. We're going to clean that orifice up there. It says 75 on there. Down there is the main jet you can pull out. So it's kind of how, that's a big problem there, guys. Look how clogged up that orifice is. Let's dig around in here and get my handy dandy little, a lot of times too, guys, I'll get my little machinist drill bits out and use those as well. So I done stuck one of those through there. This is in bad shape. So I could also probably run all this stuff through the ultrasonic parts cleaner and really help, you know, me out here. But I think we'll just get a wire brush and we'll do our best to clean all this out. But it is clogged big time, guys. And I like these bits for the fact, a lot of guys talk like, you know, you can get these little wire tip cleaners, and I've got stuff like that. It's fine, that works. But if you get into jetting and stuff, and just buy yourself, I got carb, this is what happens when you get carb spray on them. This is not even opened up yet. But get yourself a little set of these machinist bits, guys, because they work awesome for doing stuff like this. And, you know, the drill bit itself kind of like grabs and pulls that stuff out really well, I think. And, you know, as you clear that stuff out, you don't want them, you want to make sure you're not really opening it up. But we're going to spray it down and get the wire brush after it a little bit, guys. Jump on over to the steel brush here, guys, and see if that don't get it off a little faster. Let's get the carb out of the way here instead of flinging debris right back in the carb, huh? Yeah, it's a little better, guys. Just had to get away from the brass on brass, and go to the steel brush. I always get the little 3-packs of the bristle brush, the steel brush, and the brass brush at Harbor Freight. I'm about due to buy another pack. She's coming off now, guys. Not the best lighting, I know. I apologize. I'll get this cleaned up and we'll be back. All right, guys, you're probably not going to see it very well. We got it cleaned up. There's a larger diameter hole to start, and then it drops to a lot smaller hole. Obviously, you wouldn't want the jetting to be that large. And everything's cleaned up pretty good, so I think we're ready to move on here, guys. Now, I just had a thought come across my mind. This is kind of how it works for me sometimes, and I apologize if it seems as if I'm jumping around, and which I am. I know it. So let's talk back to the idle circuit. On a lot of these engines, especially some of the newer ones, the low-speed circuit, as the engine breaks in, even if it's cleared, the low-speed jet just is a little too small. And you can clean the carb and clean your low-speed circuit and idle jet out, and it would still kind of have a lean surge to it. And a way to fix that is to find your drill bit that fits that hole perfectly, and then take it up to the next size, and that thing will run. It might use a little bit more fuel, but that thing won't surge. It'll run cooler, and that trick, I do have another video where I did that trick going. I forget what it was. I think it was a little rotiller or something like that. I can't quite remember, but I think I did put a video out showing that little trick. But just keep that in mind, guys, if you're struggling with a lean idle when you want to put it down to idle. But we're going to get into this carb here and pull this out. Every one of these I ever do, I take and I polish them up with a nice little pad like this, or a Scotch-Brite pad, and you take and just spin her around, and then get the other half on the other side and spin her around, and basically just making sure that that's polished up good, and you're going to have really good free movement on that float. All right, I'm going to try to get this to where you guys can see it. Let me try to get a little bit better view. All right, it's going to make it a little harder for me to work. I got my hand through the tripod. All right, so I wanted to let you guys see how this comes out of here. And the needle may even be stuck. That's why we weren't getting fuel, guys. 100%. While that being clogged, I'm sure that portion of the main jet circuit is clogged too. We'll have to pop that out and take a look. But look at this, guys. It is just stuck in there. So we're going to be easy because we don't want to break this float. That tab will snap off. If you look in there, you can see where the little metal bar is that attaches to the needle inlet there. It's stuck pretty good, guys. So I might have to tweak that off there a little bit from this. You can see it's just barely hitting that corner there. We're trying to do the best we can to salvage this curb, right? It may, we may need to get a carb kit ordered. Well, I can't talk again. We may need to get a carb kit ordered up, guys. Let's get some needle nose pliers. I'm gonna spray this down, and we'll get some needle nose pliers. I'm about out here, and we'll try and tweak that around a little bit. This might not be good, guys. There she came. All right. Look at that. All kinds of gunked up. It's almost like corrosion there a little bit. It's actually not in bad shape. It's just at the top of the needle here where that corrosion is. So I'm gonna pop this back off here and set it over here, and then we're gonna take and protect the tip of that needle, spray it down, and we're gonna just try and start working that off there, guys. Coming right off. I promise y'all I'm going to get a better camera eventually. One of these days. So you just want to make sure you don't have like a ring around that, like an indentation. It's going to leave you a leaky needle. And guys, with the low hours this thing has on it, I can tell that's a low hour needle. So we're going to run with that. I think that'll work, guys. The real trick is going to be cleaning this out, this needle seat, and all this here. So we're going to get in, we're going to pop out this main jet right here and see what it looks like. Very easy on that brass. You will really botch it up in a hurry. Make sure the screwdriver is the right size. Hopefully you guys can see all that. Yep, it's just gonna need a good cleaning, guys, and I think we'll be setting pretty good. So I got the main jet, and this set off to the side. This actually, looking through the light, is not too bad, and you'll have a couple little orifice holes on the side there. Some little small holes there. Other than that, these are generally not that bad. The main jet's the main thing there that was fully plugged up that we could see. I'm like using every bit of the last little bit I have in here because I have one can left. I have another case coming. Just ordered up, but shot out of there really well. I mean, I really should have probably put this through the ultrasonic parts cleaner, but it's bad, but it's not. I've seen a lot worse than this, guys. I've definitely seen a lot worse than this. So I think this thing will run. These little holes here. There's one there, one there. Get in there, guys. Especially that one there. That's what runs the idle circuit. And you want to make sure that's not clogged up, guys. And do not, be careful. See how that's coming out there? That's what we want. Be careful with looking where you look. I've had a time or two where this shot right in my eye. And I'm sure if you've done this long enough and you come across this video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh my. See if we're getting chips are really not hanging up too bad. It's all doing pretty decent there. And I'll probably fire up the compressor off camera and whack at these, but I'm going to get another can of carb clean. I'll be right back. Yeah, so watch where you, I kind of always angle all the orifices away from me. And yeah, be careful. So like right there, you wouldn't want to look into that as you're spraying into there. Bad idea, guys. It's nice to have a fresh can too, because it really puts some more pressure behind the spray. See, I have that angled away from my eyes. I laugh because I've done it more than once. Spray that real good. Fuel inlet. That's usually not an issue, but it's always good to hit it while you're there. And we're going to try and get in here and clean that needle seat out. Luckily, guys, that's all. I mean, that little O-ring there, you know, it's probably not in the best shape in the world, but it should be fine. We'll find out. But the seat itself is looking pretty good, guys. I'm going to fire the air compressor up and blow this thing out. So I'm just working my soft bristle brush around there so I know it's not going to damage anything, and kind of just working it in there. Like I say, everything looks good down in there on the brass. Just up top of here where that corrosion is. Alright guys, everything's looking pretty good here. So we're going to start reassembling everything. I'm not sure if I hit this with the air compressor or not, so we're going to hit that real quick. Pretty sure I did. Okay, let's start reassembling everything. I hope for the best, guys. 90% of the time, I get jobs like this, and this is what I do. And it'll get the engine running good. You just got to go over everything. Take your time, go over everything. Stuff is really bad. Obviously, you're going to want to get a rebuild kit or even a new carb. So, I'm not sure how well you'll see this, but this just clips right onto that needle like so. Okay. That'll go onto the float like so. Kind of let that hang there. And what I'm going to do is hold that real quick. Give us another blast from the past, because I could see a little bit of really small particles and dirt and debris on there. All right. So we're going to drop this in. And hope we have some good action when we put this float back together. We'll test it out. If not, we're going to have to attack that seat again. Now, what I see here is something I was talking about. I can see a little bit of debris on there, and I'm going to go at it with something a little bit more aggressive here. All right, we're going to get this out of the way because we're going to try to keep that cleaned up really well. I'm due for a new one of these, but I could see that needed cleaned better. And believe me, guys, I've had them. I actually saw another YouTuber do this trick and show that, and ever since I've been doing it. It's a very good mechanic. I can't remember who it is. Very big Honda guy I follow. And anyhow, it's happened to me before to where, you know, I just like, man, why isn't that float operating properly? And this is just a little gunked up. Sometimes you can't see it either. I'm struggling with this, guys. You guys are going to catch it live, and there we go. All right, we got action on the float now, like we should. All right, guys. I do see a little bit of debris on there. I'm going to angle it out a little bit away from staying in the car. Nope. I guess that's just part of the way it was made in factory. So before, guys, that float would not move at all, and now it is, so that's good. It's a good sign. Here's the old gasket. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take a very, do I have my, I don't have any over here, some back there. A very, very thin coat of grease on here. I don't know where my other little tube, I have a little tube, there it is back there. And just a very little bit, guys, and I just rub my fingers together. I think, one, it seals better. Two, it doesn't stick the next time you pop it off. And I might save this gasket and make it have a little bit longer life. And I can already tell it's feeling better just doing that. Another thing you got to watch is what you seen me just do, is to make sure you're not pulling on the gasket too much, because they stretch real easy, especially the older ones. That bowl is definitely a little dirty. We're gonna work all that stuff out, guys. I forgot to do that, so we're gonna do that real quick and clean that out. It's the same, you know, you can get your pad down in here, Scotch-Brite pad or anything like that, and just clean that bowl up really well and spray it out again. I hear some movement out there. Might have a visitor. And I think we're pretty much squared away there. It's not too bad. So we're going to take and put this O-ring that we just greased up a little bit, light coat, clean my fingers off. I'm going to seat this into place here very carefully. If it doesn't seal up, you'll know. And we're going to pop that on. Did get down there good. Good. That's what we want. That is what we want right there. And we're going to put our gasket back on our main jet. It's always neat how they're designed. Totally different from dirt bikes and ATVs. Same principle. Oh, why are we shifted, guys? I didn't swap the fuel bowls, did I? Wouldn't that be something? Throwing them all around back here. No, because I know it had that same color corrosion as we did have. Weird how it's just not, don't ever tighten that, guys. Definitely don't. You're gonna run into problems doing so. All right, guys. Shabam. We're gonna see if this worked. Like I say, some of them, to really clean out this low speed circuit here, you got to remove the Welch plug. If it could be all gunked up in there. We could put this carburetor back on and it still might not run properly, but I think it's going to, guys. So let's give it a try. All right, so again, guys, I'm gonna grab just a dab. I mean, you ain't even gonna be able to see it really on my finger, and I'm gonna put it all over the gasket here. 1, seals better. 2, it won't stick. So we have our 2 bolts here, and I'll tell you what we're gonna do, guys, just in case I'm gonna be cracking into this again, because I've been here, done that. We're just gonna mount this carb up, get this linkage on here, and we're gonna try to fire it up. All right, guys, get the carb on here. I'm 100% that somebody walked up to my door and heard me probably talking to you all in here and said, yeah, he's shooting a video. So this is definitely a little bit pain in the ass to get this linkage on, guys. Now, look, you can pull it out. So if you need a little bit more room, what I like to do a lot of times is get a hold of that small one, because it's definitely a little contrary sometimes, getting a hold of that booger, especially if you put the other one on first. And that's on. Gonna roll the carburetor around, start it. I think I had to hit a funky angle here, guys. Sometimes you can tweak them and roll them. Like this one's really a pain in the butt. It's like you just can't hit the angle because of this here. But we're gonna try and see if we can drop down in there. Just don't fight them too much, because you're gonna bend everything up and you don't want to do that. So I'm thinking I'll just set this on, pop these bolts in, guys, and we're gonna see if this thing's gonna fire. What do you guys think? Is it gonna fire up? I don't know. My question is, should I put fresh gas in it? I feel like it's smelt pretty decent. So, now again, I stressed to y'all about not using impact, doing that, and I truly think if you're not experienced, and all of them can be a little different, definitely don't try and torque them down with an impact, guys. That's bad. It's got bad news written all over it. You guys think it's gonna run? I usually get them till they just about stop, and then I'll go back and forth and give them a little bump and choke up. That way you don't have as much strength. I like to choke up on the end of the socket, because these don't have to be torqued real crazy. Guys, what do you think? Let's get this on here. This fuel line on here. Alright, we can let that rip. And we're gonna find out if this thing is gonna fire up. Well, I don't have any fuel leaking yet. This has been on there for a minute or two. Alright, we'll choke it. I'm gonna try to start this thing, guys. So this is an open circuit on the ignition, so it should start up. As long as you don't have any of these grounded off, you'll be good to go there. What do you guys think? Did we fix this thing? I think it just set with gas in it. So a lot of times, what a good thing to do is get a fuel valve so you can shut the gas off here, guys. and this thing wouldn't have been setting with gas for however long it did. So that's probably what the issue was. But you can, they're very cheap, install one, and then you'll thank yourself later. All right, let's see what this thing's gonna do. All right, guys, here we go. So the kill switch, nothing's grounded out here. We're choked. All right, kill switch, doesn't matter, it's unhooked. A little bit of puff out the carb there. That is probably because there's no air filter on there. Might be a little bit leaner than usual. But guys, she's running. She is definitely running, and running pretty darn good. I will get everything back together here and probably do a test start or two here, guys. Just wanted to show you guys, you know, kind of what I do if I come across this stuff. This carburetor was borderline needing a rebuild kit and or new carb replacement. I have thrown on quite a few aftermarket carbs, quote unquote Chinese carbs for these cheaper Briggs engines and stuff, and for the most part they do okay. You're better off probably sticking with OEM brand carbs, believe me. You're not going to go wrong going that way. I did say earlier in the video about adjusting his valves. This thing is such low hours that I am not gonna probably open up the valve cover, even worry about it. The spark plug, you can tell, wasn't the oil, everything. Ain't no sense of wasting money, guys. That oil, you can tell it has no hours on it. That spark plug, that NGK was just put in there. The only thing I might do is call him up and say, hey dude, how old is your gas, and should we put, or do you want me to pump it and put fresh in it? And other than that, we'll check some other stuff over, check his belt and everything out. But with it being this low hour, with it being this of a low hour machine, the carburetor is probably the number one thing you want to address if it's been setting for it to be reliable when you go to start it in the winter time, because they're just, let's face it, they're just 100% notorious for clogging up, and this fuel is just not like it used to be. This ethanol really sucks. Now you can look at fuel treatment. For the love of God, I can't even think of the brand I like to use, but there's so many different brands out there, guys. Make sure you put your fuel treatment in. And again, guys, this fuel shutoff will save you big time. Shut your fuel off and run your carburetor dry, and or you could pop the main jet out of the bottom of the carb, just pop that screw out and let the gas drain out after you shut it off, and then boom, when you go to fire it up in the winter time, you just turn your gas on, and bam, you should be good to go, and you won't have to deal with that. Kind of cuts guys off like me, but I like being honest. I like giving people tips. There's always going to be people doing the work themselves. That's why I do this stuff for you guys on the channel. That's the way I look at it. You know, some mechanics might look at it and say, well, why are you teaching everybody? Well, it's because I like to help y'all. There's always going to be guys doing it themselves. I even put a lot of info out on my local Snapchat and so on and so forth, but just to help people out, because those guys are always going to be out there no matter what. All right, guys, we're going to pop this cover off here real quick. And I do not have anywhere to put the camera, so sorry if I'm all over the place bouncing around. Let me remove that bolt right there. It's got a little star washer on it. And we're going to do one on the other side here. Right there. And like I said, the belts and everything that looks like a Kevlar belt there, really nice belt, are just in very good shape. And that's what I thought. You can see the inside of the belt across there. I know the lighting sucks for y'all, but I can see in there. And those belts are premium. So a lot of these machines do have low hours, and I guess that can be depending on where you're at. But most around here are, you could get into older machines that may have some hours on them, but you can usually tell just by going over the machine. Like, I checked the oil, and you could tell that oil has not been ran. I looked at the spark plug. The spark plug looked like it was just put in there and like maybe been fired one time. Like, there was no run time on that spark plug. So there's ways that you can kind of glance and look at stuff, and obviously it should be pretty easy to tell that the machine just hasn't ran much. So we're going to put this last bolt in this little cover / shroud here. Little toolkit up there. He did have some cord wrapped up in there. All that's pretty fresh. Not a whole lot of movement and anything. Everything looks good and tight. The only thing I have left to do is to engage that a couple times just to ensure that everything is working good on this auger here, and I'm sure it is. There you go. Alright guys, so one thing I like to do as well is get a little grease on this auger here, or on this gear off this auger. Way it's not getting bound up. And you break a tooth when it's really cold out there. It allows for really smooth operation. When you go to use the thing come winter time. The daggone thing about snowblowers is they, you know, can set and set and set, and then when you want to use them, they don't want to operate because it's only snowing so much in certain, you know, some areas. And you know, here up in South Central Pennsylvania, we've had multiple years where we just haven't had a whole lot of snow like we've had in previous years. So we got that all greased up there, guys, and work it around a little bit there. That just allows for smoother operation. Even these joints here, you can lube these up. All right guys, I hope this helps any of you guys out there trying to self-diagnose or trying to repair and fix your snowblower with this Briggs 8.5 horsepower engine. Now across the board, they're all about the same. You could have a Tecumseh, you could have a Kohler, whatever, guys. This is a newer style engine with the overhead valves. Not hard to work on. Dive on in, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Look for some more future content coming up. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give us a like, give us a comment, and hit that bell notification if you want to see more videos to come. Thanks for watching, guys.